How many of you are comfortable with needles? Imagine having to use needles onto yourself every day to inject medicine. Today I will be talking about the two types of diabetes, type 1 and type 2, and the necessary actions that have to be taken by diabetics in order to avoid health complications. Throughout my life, I have been helping a lot of family members through diabetes, ranging from aunts to uncles to even my own father. And even the United States, 7.5 million people are diabetics, and the number keeps increasing. I will start by examining type 1 and type 2 diabetes, and I will show you what are the necessary actions that have to be taken in order to avoid fatal situations. Type 1 diabetes. According to Medline Genetics, type 1 diabetes can occur at any age, from early childhood to late adulthood, and it can be genetic, even though the inheritance pathways are still unknown. Type 1 diabetes is when the beta cells in our pancreas stops producing insulin. Insulin is important in our bloodstream. Its main job is to transfer glucose from our blood into our cells for the conversion of energy. There are many symptoms for type 1 diabetes, from extreme thirst to frequent urination to loss of feel in our hands and feet, and even blurred vision. Type 1 diabetes can be fatal in a very uncontrolled situation where our insulin is not transferring our glucose into our cells, which will trigger our liver into thinking that we have not consumed enough glucose that day, which will lead to a very high sugar level in our bloodstream that can cause really bad health complications, and they can also be fatal. Furthermore, type 2 diabetes can also be similar to type 1 diabetes. It can occur at any age, from children to teenagers to even adults. But it's more common in middle-aged and older people. There are many causes for type 2 diabetes, from being overweight to not being physically active, and also it can be genetic. The type 2 diabetes, according to a Medline article, it says that it starts off with insulin resistance when our cells do not respond properly to insulin. Our body tries to solve that issue with producing more insulin, but over several years, our body cannot produce enough insulin, and that will lead for glucose levels to increase in our bloodstream. There are no symptoms for type 2 diabetes, or they can be very mild over several years that we won't even notice them. They are very similar to type 1. Severe thirst, blurred vision, and even frequent urination. But they are very mild over several years that you won't even be able to notice them as the same as type 1. Diabetes cannot be cured, but it can be controlled through several ways. For mild situations of diabetes, there are pill swallowing. There are pills that can be ingested orally that can lower our sugar levels in our bloodstream. But for more severe situations, insulin injectors and insulin pumps can also help lower the glucose level in our bloodstream. Type 1 diabetes cannot be prevented, but type 2 diabetes can. If you're overweight, you would have to lose weight or be physically active. In general, having a healthy diet can prevent type 2 diabetes. In conclusion, 7.5 million people in the United States are diabetic, and the number is still increasing. And tonight I have shown you what type 1 diabetes is and what type 2 diabetes is, and what are the necessary actions that have to be taken by diabetics in order to avoid health complications. In conclusion, I hope the information I gave you today is enough for you to understand what type 1 and type 2 diabetes is and help you encounter it, help you in further encounters with diabetes.